Good morning and welcome to the Virtual Supplier Diversity Expo 2022. This presentation reflects on responding to NYPA's solicitations and its evaluations. My name is Michelle Romagnolo. I am the Strategic Supply Management Category Manager, also known as SSM, for major projects. So welcome, and I hope that you gain some insight with respect to this presentation. The agenda for today's presentation is such: the first item will be the solicitation mechanisms. Next is the RFP and proposal evaluation process. Then responding to RFP. Then it's the RFP evaluation process. And lastly, the bidder responsibilities. So first, let's discuss the solicitation mechanisms. The authority utilizes different mechanisms to identify and qualify potential suppliers, solicit bids, and ultimately engage them in project opportunities. Following are the key mechanisms currently used. The first, RFI, or request for information. This process is an informal or formal process, Project Sunlight, used to solicit general information about the suppliers, its products, services, technologies, capabilities, as well as gather market intelligence and other useful information for the authority. The next mechanism is the RFQ, request for qualifications. This is used primarily when we are issuing complex, large projects or for new technologies. The authority may opt to qualify suppliers prior to the issuance of a formal proposal. The RFQ process is used to solicit prospective bidders. The invitation is advertised in the same manner as the RFP, which I will be discussing shortly. However, pricing is not requested or of a major consideration. The next mechanism, the request for proposal or RFP process, is a formal process used to solicit proposals for specified scopes of work. These will either be issued as open bids, in which case the opportunity will be advertised, or will be directed as a pool of potential bidders identified through the RFQ process that I just discussed above. Responding to the authority solicitations must be submitted through the SAP Ariba portal. Assistance in navigating the Ariba system is provided by Ariba and also by the authority. Let me just also comment on the fact that all correspondence during the bid restricted period, which is from the onset of the solicitation to the final fully executed award, which is the bid restricted period, must be addressed to the authority's Strategic Supply Management SSM representative. For example, when I issue an event, I am that representative, and all correspondence would go through me. This is very important. Proposals should not go to the project engineer or QA person, but it strictly must correspond with the SSM representative. Now, next, I'd like to discuss the RFP and proposal evaluation process. Bidding/proposals evaluation process is part of the overall process and is tied to both the RFP requirements and the overall project objectives. The first part of the evaluation process is getting the scope and requirements defined. Following that is getting the evaluation criteria identified. This is developed early in the process to ensure that all required information is submitted with any proposal. Then the RFP is developed, finalized, and issued. The bid proposals are submitted by the suppliers, and then next, the bid proposals are evaluated. And this is when the evaluation criteria is then used following the submission of the proposals to determine which bidder best meets or submits the best value and meets the criteria set forth in the RFP requirements. Also, it's whether they meet the objectives and or the intent of the RFP. Then following that is the contract award And then finally is the full execution of the contract when both parties sign the contract. So when responding to the RFP, please look into the following. These are some standard technical and commercial requirements included, but not are limited to the RFP. First and foremost is safety. Safety, culture, and past performance. The bidder's proposal shall include a comprehensive and project-specific health and safety plan, also known as HASP. This may include, but is not limited to, the EMRs, safety manuals and procedures, environmental response, and in some cases, or depending on the project, helicopter services safety plan, and confined space planning. Those are some of the plans that we request with our RFPs. Next is the subcontracting goals. The bidder's commitment to meet and exceed the MWBE, Minority Woman-Owned Business Enterprise, or SDVOB, Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Business subcontracting goals as set forth in the RFP. These will be called out in the RFP itself. Then we also may ask for the supplier's diversity practices. And this will be asking you to demonstrate what your commitment is to the outreach, to mentoring, and for possibly developmental growth of the New York State certified MWBs and SDVOBs. Also in the RFP, as standard practice, are contract terms and conditions. Or for example, claims, damages clauses, insurances that are required, if any liquidated damages, payment terms, termination, and other clauses pertaining to the project, those are included in the RFP. First and foremost, though, we prefer an exception-free proposal. That is what we're trying to seek. We ask if you have any red lines or any exceptions to the proposal, but ultimately we are trying to strive for exception-free proposals. Then we also include in the RFP financial viability and creditworthiness. This is when we ask for audited financials for the last 2 years. That's a requirement. And then in addition, to demonstrate the supplier's creditworthiness to support the project. This may include bonding capacity or any other financials that you may require or want to include in the RFP submission. The next is qualifications and experience. This is where we ask the supplier to demonstrate your resources, labor, equipment, capability, and any other qualification and experience specific to the work. Next, here are some project-specific requirements that may be included in the RFP as well. And they're not just limited to these, it just depends on the project itself. The first one is business processes. We're looking for you we're seeking demonstration of robust, standard, and provide business processes to support the work, including but not limited to project management, construction management, procurement/subcontractor management, QA/QC program, and also possibly safety program. Next, we also definitely will ask for execution plan and your approach to the work. So in your submission, you should show your proposed approach and project plans which address all the NYPA requirements and demonstrates the ability to satisfy all project deliverables. This includes, but is not limited to, mobilization and demobilization planning, site staging, project team structure, proposed design planning, permitting, and many others. Next is cost competitiveness. The bidder's proposed cost and demonstration of the overall best value for NYPA. So that's what we're looking for when we look at the cost competitiveness, your pricing. We may include a schedule of values where all the pricing will be broken down and you would submit your submission. So we're looking for overall best value for NYPA. Then we may also ask for a project schedule. So your proposal may include proposed project schedule or schedules to effectively meet or exceed all the identified project milestones that takes into account any and all potential constraints. For example, it takes into consideration weather, NYPA outage schedules, maintenance schedules. So we understand that you took into consideration any other variables that might come up. Okay, next, I would like to go through the evaluation process. The process is standardized to ensure that the evaluation is impartial and consistent among all vendors, even if there are different evaluators. And we will have a multidisciplinary team from project management, QA/QC, sustainability, SSM, engineering. So it's a collaboration of a full team reviewing your proposal. So the overall scoring is quantitative and qualitative. When we are scoring the bids, prior to the receipt of proposals, the evaluation team will review the evaluation criteria and finalize the potential weights for each evaluation factors. An evaluation matrix is provided and prepared prior to the receipt of the proposals. And this is an example of a snippet of it, of one of the evaluation matrix. And this shows that, let's say, for instance, the commercial/strategic requirements is about 20% of the overall 100%. And it would include possibly safety, planning, the company's stability, its financial stability. Here we also look into any exceptions taken. That's also a possibility for commercial requirements. Then we look at technical requirements, and they could be from design specific compatibility, the overall project plan or approach, like the execution plan as discussed earlier, the project team, who is the staffing going to be for project execution, any subcontractor management. So that's the technical requirements, and that usually has a higher weighting than the commercial. And in this case, it's about 50%. And then lastly, cost. And that's usually 30%. So as you can see, the commercial, technical, and cost evaluation are broken up into different percentages, and usually the technical is the greater of the weighting. So when submitting your proposal, here are some tips for the bidder's responsibility in their submission. We look for a complete, well-organized proposal addressing all the requirements, including the use of the naming convention of the submitted documents, which is critical in the bidder's success. And the reason why I'm discussing the naming convention submitted, it's very important. As you can be aware, the evaluators are looking at your documents that you're uploading in Ariba. So please label them accordingly. Usually it's the RFQ number, it's the vendor name, and it's the section in which you're uploading the document. Say, for instance, we're looking for your project staffing. It will have the RFQ number, it will have ABC company, and then it will have project staffing. So when we go into Ariba, we know who we're looking at and what section we're looking in. So that's very, very important. Then we also want to see how you, in your proposal, how you address all the requested requirements, that you understand what we're looking for. The level of detail, this will ensure sufficient information has been provided to effectively represent the proposed solution or offering of the bidder. Experience, link experience to the delivery of the contract. This ensures evidence provided that all criteria are met. Consistency, please ensure also to provide information that is consistent across your responses. Completeness and clarity, ensure that all required information is submitted. If requested information is referenced in other parts of your responses, ensure that this is noted and clear. Because sometimes we receive information in one section and then you reference it in another section and we're trying to gauge where it is. So it's important that you clearly designate the completeness and clarity of your reference responses. Concise, avoid irrelevant information or marketing materials unless it is requested. Usually key in on what is asked for, whether it's the technical information, whether it's the commercial information, whether it's the appendices that need to be signed and completed, please include all the requested information and not irrelevant information, because they're, like I said before, it's important that the team keys in on the relevant information to submit and evaluate the proposals at large. Timeliness. Please ensure and note all deadlines, for example, when the pre-bid meeting is being conducted, when bidders' questions are due, when the bid due date is expected. That's very important. So be cognizant of the deadlines of the RFP. Well, I hope that the presentation and the discussion helped you in responding to the RFPs. But I ask, though, that if you have any questions, please contact this email address, supplier.diversity@nipa.gov, and we will gladly respond to your inquiries. Again, thank you. I wish you the best of luck when responding to future opportunities with the Power Authority. And if you ever need any help, please reach out to the SSM representative that conducted and issued the RFP. Thank you and have a great day.